Okay.
Lizzie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for volunteering.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me a bit about you. You're an opera singer in training. Yeah.
So I'm currently a student.
Yeah.
Returned to being a student after a working life because I love singing.
Yeah.
And training to be an opera singer, which is incredibly enjoyable and privileged and really stressful. And particularly stressful at the minute. I've just changed voice type, which is a big thing for a singer.
Yeah.
So it's a particularly wild time. And I work alongside it, so I'm a busy person.
And any stress problems or aches or pains or anything that interferes with your production of voice performance?
So I've got terrible posture, and posture is a big part of singing, which isn't ideal. And I feel like I always want to work my posture, and you're told to sort of stand up straight and open out, and
yes.
And then singing's all about being relaxed as you possibly can be. So when you perform, you're less relaxed,
Obviously.
and that's difficult. But also when I'm trying to stand up straight, I feel I'm at my most tense, which then makes my singing worse, but it's something I know I have to do.
It's a paradox, isn't it? So you're told to sit up straight, and that makes you more tense, and you're told to be relaxed because that's the best way to sing.
Yeah.
So, and that's the paradox that brings people to Alexander, because we have to juggle with those realities. So first of all, who told you to stand up straight to sing well? Is that something that you've just bought into, or you've been told this by your voice teachers?
Coaches, teachers.
Coaches, right. So
I mean, they might
there.
phrase it differently, and it has been phrased differently to me over the years, but perhaps I hear stand up straight, because there's different ways of saying stand up straight.
Yeah.
But then you also do get just stand up straight.
Of course. Right. So we're not going to do stand up straight.
Wonderful.
But it may end up being straighter, and that's going to be the paradox of the way we're going to work together. All right. So we'll see where we go. So for you, this lot here are just here to observe me and to check me out. How do I deliver a lesson? You're totally free to do what you like, ignore them, and hopefully have an interesting session with me.
Fabulous.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll start with you standing. I think actually we'll start you in this chair, and you'll look out of the window over there and put your feet a little wider apart. And you and I have got different jobs. So my job is to move you and ask you to do certain things. And your job is to, as far as you can, go along with the suggestions. All right?
Okay.
And if I do anything or something is uncomfortable or doesn't feel okay, let me know. Or anything else that's of interest, you can feel free to share with me. Anything that's confusing in my requests, also let me know, because I want you to be quite clear about what I want from you and what your role is. So your role is very simple. I can screw up and you can't. Okay, that's the most important thing to know, that you can't do any mistakes here. There's nothing you can do that can be in any way problematic. All right, so the first thing you do is you look outside at the nice weather, and I'm going to move your head. Yeah. And as I said before, what I don't want from you is to have any idea that you have to be straighter than you are. So in a funny way, I want you to say to yourself that your posture is absolutely fine the way it is. It doesn't need to improve. You can see I'm just moving your head around, and you're very nicely letting me do the movements. I'm in control of this movement, and you're doing your best to let me move it in different places. Now I'll move your head upwards, and it can stay there. There's also no right place for your posture, so I'm moving you in all these different places, and they're all fine because they're just different positions. Okay, and I'll have your head slightly at a funny angle for a while. Now, I want you to now take your hips back as you bend the knees until you reach the stool. That's it, all the way till you reach the stool, and then when you get there, you stop in space, that's fine, and now I'm going to take you backwards. And this time I'm going to take your arm, and I've got all the weight of your arm. Same thing with your head. I'm the mover of your arm, and you're leaving me to do all the moving and the lifting. And as far as possible, you're not helping me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
The not helping business is quite important. As long as you understand that you're not required to help me. And you can carry on looking straight ahead. The other paradox is you don't actually have to go inside your body and work out what's going on. As in, oh, what's going on? I need to help answer me, or learn about my body. There's nothing you need to learn about inside. So you can carry on looking out of the window. Has singing always been a great love for you?
Yes. Not necessarily opera, though.
And
Opera came to me later.
That's it, I'm still the mover. And now I'm going to move you forwards from your hips. Yeah. What's the most stressful thing about singing, or even opera singing? Is it the audience? Is it the auditions? Is it the...
Auditions.
Is it?
Auditions. Perfectionism.
Yeah, trying to get it right. Yeah.
And judgment.
Self-judgment. Or
both judgment from other people, judgment from yourself.
Yeah, thinking that they're examining you and judging you.
Yeah.
That's quite a big stressor, isn't it?
Yeah.
And of course, that's the reality of being a performer, though, isn't it?
It's the job, yeah.
That's the job. So in Alexander, we're not going to pretend that that's not real. It is real. And what we can do in this work is, even though those are realities, is help you reside in that reality and not do very much about it. In other words, not to stress out because of it.
Yeah.
Not to pretend that it's not there, because it is there. It's the reality of being a performer. Perfectionism and facing people's potential judgment. And if we can get you to a point where you don't react to those things, that those things may be, quite major things, but you don't freak out because of them and stress because of them, then you can handle the stressor, but without being stressed. Does that make sense?
It sounds like a dream.
It is. So I'm going to move you forwards. Because often we get confused about the stressful condition and the stressful reaction. So the stressful event. It's stressful to sing, yeah. But what do we mean? Well, what you're saying is it's a stressful reality, judgment and other people and perfectionism, those are realities. But if you can react in a way that is less disturbing and less freezing and less tightening, then that will be a wonderful outcome. So I'm going to take you forwards, don't change anything. So here's a little stressor right now. It's called standing and sitting. And you've also got an audience watching you, so you might think they're judging, although I've told you they're not judging you, they're judging me. So I want you to stand up with your heels. That's it. And I want you to bend the knees all the way. Yes, and then at the stool, stop and wait there. And then stand up again, heels, and bend the knees. Yeah. And again, heels, and bend the knees. And heels, and bend the knees. And heels, and bend the knees. And heels, and bend the knees. So we're going to repeat it a few times. What's it like to move like this, Lizzie? Apart from a bit bizarre.
We're using different parts of my body.
Very good. So what parts of your body are primarily being utilised as you're sitting and standing?
My legs.
Correct, yes. And what do you reckon you might be using much less than you normally would do?
My back.
Yeah, your whole back, neck and back. So that's being used less and your legs are being used more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Less stress in your neck and back, more demand of the muscles of your legs.
Yeah.
Bend the knees. So you can see it's quite a reversal of what normally happens.
Yeah.
Most people, when they sit and stand and walk and talk and sing, use a hell of a lot more muscle stress and tension in their neck and back than they need to. That's good. Then heels. all the way up. Look straight ahead. Yeah, so as I said, you don't need to go inside and check anything or make anything better. It's all working just the way it's supposed to. And bend the knees again, all the way. And I'll take you there. So how do you reckon your posture's managing itself at the moment? What do you feel about yourself?
Maybe less inclined to hunch.
Yeah, less of a rounding and a hunching. Are you making an effort to sit up straight? No. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're more upright or less hunched, as you say. You're not doing sit up straight, young lady.
No. Until you kind of said it, I was thinking, am I sitting up more straight?
Do you think you are?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me just show you something in the mirror. So if you have a look at yourself here...
Oh my God. Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it? Without any effort at all.
Yeah.
So then the question is, how do you think you're managing to have this upright poise and posture without sitting up straight with tension?
This is a singer answer. I feel I'm stacked over my hips.
Stacked, that's the result. You are stacked. It's a nice way of describing what's going on. You are stacked. Yeah. That's it, don't change anything. Yeah. And I'll move you forwards, that's fine too. And even in a forward bend, can you still see that the postural mechanisms, the upward poise and posture is still working? Can you sense that?
Yes.
And then you stand up with your heels. And how much effort was it to stand?
Very little.
Very little. Not a normal way of getting out of a chair.
No.
Yeah. And then bend the knees. That's it, and wait there for a while. And then stand up again. And bend the knees again. And heels. And bend the knees. And heels. And bend the knees. Heels. What's the experience like to move like this?
Sort of unconscious.
Unconscious, exactly. You're not trying to do it. Yeah, it's not something overly thought out. Yeah, that's right. That's it. Now soften the lips, so the lips can also participate. Yeah. And then bend the knees again. Yeah. It isn't a conscious trying to do good, is it? It's not the perfectionism side of you kicking in.
No.
You take you further forwards and stop. And I'll take you back again and stop. So all of these forwards and backwards, you're still doing nothing at all. Taking you further forwards, stop there for a while. And then you can stand again, heels. Yeah. And again, you can bend the knees. So if you had to sing like this, what would that be like? Possible, or would it feel so bizarre that it would be difficult to sing in this condition?
I think possible, but then if I think about singing now, which I'm not going to do.
No, you don't have to do it.
Brings tension.
The thought of having to sing, exactly. So you're in this condition now, then you introduce another idea as in, ooh, I'm going to get you to sing in front of everybody. That would, even thinking about it may start to increase tension.
Yeah.
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 It's almost like just the thought and the anticipation creates potentially.
Yeah.
So you could say the whole purpose of lessons is to be able to have the thought, I'm going to sing, and then even further, have the thought and the action, you're going to be singing, and not activate the freeze.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So at the moment, you're not activating the freeze with sitting, standing, and being here,
No.
which is different.
Mm.
And we've got to get that not doing to a higher and higher and higher and higher level.
Mm-hmm.
Higher and higher level, so you cope with bigger and bigger stimuli, bigger and bigger stresses. The thought of singing, the act of singing in an audition, you know, the bigger and bigger deals.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to be robust enough and resilient enough to maintain this condition.
Mm.
How would you describe this condition?
Neutral.
Neutral, that's a good word. Neutral, as in not very much is happening. Yeah?
Yeah.
Mind and body are not disturbed.
No.
Yeah, neutral. But neutral and very alive. It's still vital. You're still alive and alert. Let me take you further forwards and stop. So I'll move you back again. When you say neutral, do you mean the body feels neutral in terms of not very much is happening?
Yeah.
What about your mind? What condition is your mind in this condition of neutral? Stand up with the heels. Exactly.
My mind is
Bend the knees.
a battle between thinking
Yes.
and trying not to think.
Very good, yeah. On that little edge.
Mm.
Yeah. So wanting to think things out
Yeah.
and being on the edge of, but I'm not thinking things out, but I'm tempted to go back into that old way of thinking, overthinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you can look outside as a neutralizer to overthinking. Yeah, and then heels, exactly that. Mm-hmm. That's it, nothing to do up here. So your job is to learn what it's like to be in a condition of not overthinking, or not overreacting, or not stressing, doesn't matter, all the same ideas. Yeah, and you can look outside and not go in and compute it, or work it out, or posture it, or try and, you put it very nicely, perfectionism, that's trying to make it even better, to make sure there's no errors and no mistakes, and it's going to be the best it could possibly be. And that quality of thought, of perfectionism, is a stressor. That's what creates all the unnecessary tension in the vocal mechanisms. So if you can keep the perfectionism on one side, which is what you're saying right now, you're on this edge, you're going to be fine. Take the hips back and bend the knees. Yeah, and then stand up again. Yeah, and then bend the knees again. And heels again. So this sitting and standing is an example of keeping the perfectionism in a bracket. Heels. That's it, bend the knees. And heels. That's it, bend the knees. Mm-hmm. And heels. Yeah. Yeah. How are you doing with this? Not overly thinking it out. What's it like to be in this condition of not making it better, not perfecting it, or not overly trying to improve? Does it feel like a mental challenge?
Yes.
Yes, it is a mental challenge. It's like new pathways in the brain are being created, and there's other old pathways crying out for being used, and you're saying no. You're not going to go along this old pathway. So there's a bit of a battle going on.
Yeah.
And what's winning is this ability for you to neutralize them. Bend the knees. That's it, all the way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I won't get you singing today, but if you were singing in this condition, I can assure you you'd be singing in a very, very different way than the singing with the freeze. It'll be much more of a productive way of singing.
Yeah.
A much higher level of functioning. Yeah, that's it. Take you further forwards and then stop. And then, even now, there's no reaction, nothing's going on, you're not being a perfectionist, you're not trying to make it better, and you just stand up with your heels. Yeah, and then you bend the knees again. And heels. What's happening in the neck and back as you're sitting and standing? Trick question.
Less than usual.
Less than usual. I'd say pretty much nothing. Yeah, much less than usual. And then walk around to the wall and back again. Quite quickly. And then back again. Yeah. 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 And then round. What's it like to walk like that? Put your feet wide-ish. And bend the knees. Yeah, it's good.
I sort of wasn't observing it, to be honest.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a rather strange way of being, isn't it? Not self-conscious, not trying to observe it, not trying to make it better. Almost like the walking's happening by itself. It's not being overly computed. That's fine, I'll take you here, and here, and here, and here, and here, fine. Yeah, and even from there, stand up with the heels. Good. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to put you on the table for a little while. So you take your shoes off. We're going to do a little bit of table work. So you come and get yourself on your back, and I'll take your head. Your head's going to arrive on the books. Perfect, yeah. So it's the same idea right now, just like the work on the stool. I'm going to be moving you, and you, as usual, are letting me do the moving without helping me. So now I'm just going to lift a leg. Any thoughts or questions kicking in?
No. It's quite relaxing.
How do you know you're more relaxed? Is it a mental thing more? Is it a physical thing? Hard to tell the difference.
I think it's just when I lie down, I just relax.
Yeah, yes. You're dropping into the table, aren't you? So you said to me before, you're told that you have to sing with relaxation.
Yeah.
But they also told you to have a good posture. So you could say, right now, in this level of relaxation, you'd be singing very well. If you had the right poise. Is that fair to say? In this condition?
Yeah. It's sort of, in singing, posture is an anatomical thing for the function of what we call the column.
Yeah.
To like literally produce sound well, but it's also about performance, and it's about poise. They're like different things.
Yes, it's not just a shape, is it? It's the way everything functions in your voice mechanisms, isn't it? The openness. You mentioned stacking on top of one another. It's being stacked up properly. So I think you're right, there are mechanical advantages of being so-called stacked up. But if it comes from effort, it's not very functional.
Yeah, exactly.
And you want to get the result of this opening system without the stress.
Yes.
And with the relaxation. Because as you quite rightly said, there's a bit of a paradox. You're told to have good posture, you try to make good posture, you get more stressed, and then you haven't got the relaxation.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a vicious cycle for a lot of performers. We take that very, very seriously in Alexander. So the first thing you set out with is don't make any effort to be good. And you can imagine for perfectionists that's quite a challenge. because the habit is trying to make things better, trying harder. And the trying harder creates trouble.
Yep.
So it's paradoxical learning. In a funny way, you're asked not to try harder to be good, but to leave yourself alone.
Yeah.
And prioritize the brain in this condition. And the weird thing is, when your brain is in this condition, the posture follows, and not the other way around.
Yeah.
So when you were sitting like you were before, and I showed you in the mirror, you weren't making any effort.
No.
So the posture was uplifting itself because of the relaxation of the brain. Rather than you being a perfectionist about having to be good, stacked up and poised and upwards and straight, from a stressful mind, that wouldn't work. So at the moment I'm just going round and round, moving you. And if the whole body wants to give up on any stress patterns, it will do. The movement gives permission for you to let go of things you don't want to hold on to. How does the relaxation feel on the table?
The area around my shoulder blades is feeling blissful. Everything else feels relatively normal.
Yeah.
That's particularly nice.
So especially you can feel the shift in what's going around this area. Yeah. And blissful would probably indicate that you carry around a huge amount of tension there that you get used to. When you don't have it, it's blissful because it's quite a strong contrast to the everyday, isn't it? How do you reckon you've achieved the extra blissful freeing up of this whole arena?
I feel very flat.
Yeah, you've really dropped the whole back. So posturally, you say you've got terrible posture, you clearly don't. Sometimes you might round yourself, but right now you're not.
Yeah.
And you've flattened everything down. You've given up into gravity. How do you reckon you've achieved that? This is not an easy question.
I'm not sure. The books, when I put my head on the books to begin with, they felt really high.
Yeah.
And now they feel really low.
Yeah.
I don't know how this happened, but...
Yeah, so what's happened is you've dropped into gravity. And that's a mental thing. You've surrendered into the gravity field because of this. Something in your brain says, I'm letting myself go. I trust gravity. I trust the firmness of the table. I trust letting go. You're not in a stressful condition right now of control. You've come off your control freak patterns. And you can probably register quite strongly that your brain is in a different condition.
Mm.
So what we're going to do in a minute, I'm going to get you off the table and take you back to the chair. Okay, that's fine, leave the knee where it is, yeah. Alright, so what I want from you right now, I'm going to lift up your head and you're going to roll in a minute and your feet are going to come over the side, your legs are going to come over the side and then I'll swing you up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've got the weight of your head and you roll, that's it, feet over the side. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then use your hands and help yourself off the table. Perfect, and then you can walk to the stool. Yeah. Yeah, and then stand in front here and wait there for a while. Put your feet a little wider. And you can just bend the knees. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. How do you think your posture is, just as a matter of interest?
My brain tells me it's going to be quite good.
It is.
But I don't feel...
You don't feel you make...
No, I don't feel I'm sat up straight.
Very good. So you don't feel you're making the effort that would tell you you're sitting up straight?
No,
Hold
it doesn't
yourself.
feel like sitting up straight.
No, I get that. Because how could you be sitting up straight without feeling the usual effort you'd make to sit up straight? Yeah. So, if you look at yourself in the mirror...
Yeah, that's quite crazy.
Quite crazy. It is quite crazy. It really is.
It really doesn't feel like that.
It can't feel like that because you associate sitting up straight with effort. So when it's not there, you think, that's crazy. How on earth could I be sitting up with this amount of beautiful poise? And you say to yourself, you've got terrible posture. Well, you haven't. You're sitting up with all this beauty and grace and poise without the feeling of effort that you associate with up and straight and good. So now you've got the effortless poise and the stacking on top of each other and the relaxation, and that will be a place to perform.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Questions? Anything you want to share?
I haven't got any questions, just got observations. Louise will know we get told to tuck our hips or not,
Yes.
but then you overdo it. And
Exactly.
I understand what neutral is in my hips right now.
Very good. So now you're just neutral, but you're not trying to do neutral. It's
No.
just happening.
And I realised that my tucking of my hips is actually too tucked.
Any doing of a tucking in of hips would be too much.
Yeah,
It would.
way too
But
much.
you maybe the result of having these natural hips and neutral hips and neutral poise would be a goal. But when you try and do it through this sort of rotation of the pelvis and this and trying to get the up and the stacking, that would be a disaster. So we all want the same result. Your singing teachers, trainers want the same result, but they may go about it in a way that produces more effort and strain, and that then, I'm afraid, undermines the function of the singing in the process.
Combined with my trying hard.
Combined, well, we're all pretty much triers, so it's pretty universal. But yes, we're all perfectionists in a way. So if you're using perfectionism and trying hard, and the trainer tells you to try hard and sit up straight and have all this, you're not going to have the right conditions of relaxation and freedom that bring out the best of your voice. And so it's getting the result that we all want in a way that doesn't contaminate the result.
Yeah.
So the means are very important. The goal we all agree with, very nice, open, poise, relaxation. And the Alexander technique is a technique that is designed to look after how you get there, so that you achieve the result with all the ingredients that you need. Okay, not just the trying to get there, because the trying to get there destroys the result, and the not trying to get there gets the result. And you're not trying to sit up right now.
No.
Okay, that's the point.
Yeah.
Good.
It's magic.
It's magic. It is. That's exactly what we are. We're magicians. And you're the magician because you're letting all of this happen. The human organism is magic. That's the point. Not necessarily the teachers, although we have a bit of magic. But the biggest magic is actually in you. The magic that wants to manifest this beautiful upness without trying. That it's all there. And our job is to liberate it, but not to try and make it happen. And that's the magic. The magic is not doing, but letting something happen. That's the highest level of magic. Letting the organism manifest this wonderful condition without effort.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thanks so much for sharing yourself today.
Thank you. Thank you.
All the best.